Hello, everyone, and welcome to our gaming public radio Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo impressions plus more, I guess is the best way to put it. I'm Jacob Wagner, and I'm joined today by Luke Miller, and we are gonna just kind of go through all of the different uh stuff about from like our history with Final Fantasy VII, uh, to our impressions of the Rebirth demo, and it's gonna just be the first part of the demo because um, it's only been a week, a little over a week since the demo has come on out. The second part is scheduled from the time of recording, like 5 days from now. So uh, we may get something up about that. We may not before the game actually launches. But it's a fun thing that there's going to be other updates going along with it. So that's all we're going to say on, you know, kind of the updates or um, image quality, probably, unless we feel that it's important later. Um, but with that housekeeping out of the way, let's get into geeking out about Final Fantasy VII. So, Luke, what is your history, or what are some core memories, or how did you start with the original game back in the 90s?
Sure. I've got an interesting story about this. So around the time, not when it released, but when PlayStation put it on a PlayStation Platinum sale, um, my parents bought me Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 at the same time, and I had just had knee surgery, so I had a lot of times to play Final Fantasy 7 and go through that way. Um, I was just telling Jacob a second ago, one of my core memories of Final Fantasy 7 from my high school days was when me and my buddies would have a PS1 memory card. We would all share and copy the file together. We all beat the game together in this odd way with a memory card. We all had the same save files and all the cool summons like Knights of the Round and all the fun weapons. So it was a good time. Probably the next high point for me as far as Final Fantasy goes is Final Fantasy 9. I would almost say 9 is my favorite Final Fantasy. Um, and I really just dislike 8. I couldn't get into 8.
Agreed wholeheartedly. uh, uh, 9 has grown on me quite a bit. It kind of combined 7 with some of the older games. I thought I so when the original Final Fantasy VII came on out, I was still just, yeah. Let's see, it came out in 97. 97. Um, we definitely did not have a PlayStation back then. We were a Nintendo household up through when my brother went off to college. I had worked the summer at McDonald's, so I got myself a PS2. Um, but I had actually had a chance to play FF7 before that, because a year after the game that came out on PlayStation, it came out on PC, and it was probably some months. So it was probably somewhere either late 98 or 99, I'm gonna guess. Um, that my brother got it, and I ended up getting a Lego game when he got that one, and he was having fun, but then he dropped out of it after a while. But I was like, I kind of want to play this. I want to go at it. And my parents were like, "You have to finish this Lego game that you got, but you have to finish this other game before you can play uh, your brother's a Final Fantasy game. I'm like, fine. So I had kind of been putting off a lot of that Lego game because I was stuck on a mini game, and I finally figured out how to do it, and then I finished it fairly quickly. But then I played through all of the game, I think, on an old uh, compact desktop that was just, it was an old big white thing with the huge monitor. um that was actually how we first watched the extended edition for Fellowship of the Ring, because that came out before I got my PS2. We sat around this computer eating pizzas and watching Lord of the Rings. But uh,
That's a great memory.
oh, the Final Fantasy VII, though, that it wasn't my first RPG kind of stuff. My dad was definitely an RPG lover, and so we were playing games like Mario RPG, of course, but then Breath of Fire, Lufia 2, um, just some very random uh, uh, cult classic things from the Super Nintendo. And so when I started playing 7 with the active time battle, it was it was an adjustment going
Sure.
from pure turn based to the active. It was just like, I I'll go through with it because like I'm liking having a 3D RPG. 3D, not true 3D, but it like Mario 64 or anything like that. But I I think it was I had a whole bunch of a good time with it. I went through and I got everything. I got up to Knights of the Round. Like, you get that gold chocobo, trying to figure out how to do that. Going on to GameFAQs,
Exactly.
searching on our uh phone line internet to all this stuff. And because we never, because my dad always, we had to have the phone free to uh let my dad be able to answer calls if there was somebody in need. We could only do internet in like 20-minute bursts. So trying to get all of the information, that we printed out so many game facts.
That's awesome.
But
Yeah, I think Final Fantasy VII was my first RPG. Honestly,
really,
um, I've always been more of an action adventure type guy. So for me, going from action adventure where with guns blazing and stuff to a slower, I mean it's not, but I still consider Final Fantasy VII a turn-based game,
sure.
even though it's more action oriented. But for me, going from that fast pace to a slower pace was kind of jarring for me, but I liked it. I have time to choose magic or an item or find my summon I want. This is pretty cool. So
It's
yeah,
interesting how, because this wasn't the first game to do it. That would be uh, Final Fantasy went from pure turn based to the ATB in, oh my goodness, what was the first? I know 6 did it. It might have been 4 actually, because I think 3 was pure turn based. Playing
that
them
sounds
later,
right.
playing them later in life.
Just playing through the pixel collection. That sounds right.
But 7 was my first Final Fantasy. Um, for some reason, we didn't pick up the Final Fantasy games on the Super Nintendo. I don't know why, because they would have been right up my dad's alley of games that he would just love, but he didn't. I actually, I don't know why at this point. I'm gonna have to ask him the next time I see him. That's an interesting the story for the original game. It was because I kind of half watched my brother go through it. I knew a lot of the story beats before they happened. Um, and this is we're talking about like 9, 10, 11, maybe 12-year-old Jacob at this point.
Sure.
I
You didn't understand equal terrorism at that point in time?
no. No. If anything, it sounded more hippie to me, because that's how my parents. That's how what my parents kind of the some of the mentality that we kind of were raised with. Like, oh yeah, it's just I'm like whatever. Okay, planet health things. Okay, we'll just now. I it would be amazing. I would love if I could wipe my memory and play the game over for the first time. It
Yeah.
it would be amazing. I wish that for a lot of games, just because like I'd like to be able to go through the story now that I'm older and have a lot more life experience. Just like, oh, that's what's going on.
That's my mentality with Bloodborne.
Oh,
Uh,
sure.
I, I I love that game. I love to play that with fresh eyes and fresh memory.
Yeah, it's great. And Final Fantasy VII, so it was the most selling game. I just actually saw a one of those videos of sales charts, like what was the most selling Final Fantasy game through the years, and it just like the bars go up as the years progress, and FF7 up until 14, A Realm Reborn came out. It was the most selling Final Fantasy game ever, and then it was actually edged out by 15.
It's kind
Uh,
of sad. I mean, 15 was fine, but nowhere near, in my opinion, the value of Final Fantasy 7,
I
which
think it
is
was just because of the timing of it, the amount of people able to uh, get the game. We just did our podcast about having your game on multiple platforms doesn't it isn't as great as you think, but in this case it actually was because it came out on everything and it wasn't a console um not necessarily exclusive but um a console company who made it and only put it on one. They put it on all of them. I know they'd done that with 13 as well, but 13 was 13.
yeah. For long, we talked about this on a podcast too. Just how for the longest time, Final Fantasy games were exclusive to Nintendo through the Super Nintendo.
Yeah,
Then from PlayStation until Final Fantasy 13 went to Xbox 360,
yeah,
and then now they seem to be going rotating back to PlayStation.
yeah. It's it'll be interesting to see where that relationship between Square and Sony goes.
Yeah,
The
for sure.
the rest of the Final Fantasy VII games in the entire series have not seemed to be going well up until Remake. I mean, we have Before
Mhm.
Crisis, which was a mobile game back in the 90s. I I don't think that was ever something that was really much available in the States. Um, it came out um oh I in 2004. So this is towards the beginning of phone games and app stores.
I,
Um,
I think I think on the document we shared with each other, the only extra game I've played was Crisis Core on PSP. Um,
okay.
so I'm not familiar with the Advent, the Last Order, and or Dirge of Cerberus. I'm not familiar with some of that stuff.
Yeah, I the Advent Children movie was it was fun. It wasn't like
I misspoke. I had seen that before. That and the Spirit Within.
oh yeah.
That's kind of a simple storyline, isn't it? So the Spirit Within.
I actually have not never fully watched Spirit Within. I've seen probably about a third of the movie in little clips, but I have not watched it through. Supposedly Advent Children was better. It's still nothing to like write home about, but um it it's just a fun movie to watch. Having all of those fight scenes, them going back to the church in the slums, and then in the forest in the northern uh yeah, in the north, and then coming all the way back to the big city to finish off the fight in the ruins of Sector 7. I it was just a visual, it not masterpiece, but enjoyment for 2005 3D visual quality. I so the Last Order anime movie only came out with the with one version of the Advent Children movie in the States. Um it came out with the not the original one and not the most latest release. Um oh, goodness, I just had it and I lost it. Um I have the box. Just it was the complete edition, I think, that it finally came to the United States in North America. That's what I did. It was no the limited edition collector's set. It was a basically it looked like it would be a two DVD box set. And it was just a bonus feature, and it's just telling the story of Nibelheim through Zach's perspective. So it's basically just Crisis Core before Crisis Core came out. Because that it was the Crisis Core came out in
It's been like 2007,
'7, and
2008.
this it came out in 2005 initially. Into the states, it came out um probably at a similar time, um so not too far afterwards. Um, no, it was a campaign for Crisis Core because it came out in February of 2007. It was to help encourage people to get this new PSP game that was coming on out later that year and into the next, since it wasn't a worldwide same day release. Um, just kind of going in order of release. Yeah, I did. I do have Dirge of Cerberus. It was one of those games I just bought because oh hey, it's a Final Fantasy VII game. I never actually played it, and apparently that's a perfectly okay thing because it's a I guess a really bad control, bad just put together game for that history of Vincent. Um, I might it would be interesting to go and revisit it or visit it for the first time uh nowadays. But then Crisis Core came out, and I put the fact that with Reunion as well, um just because that's the one I've played. You've played the original one on the PSP. How did you like that game?
I tell you what, man. I was in a hotel room with some friends, and there was a Walmart across the road from the hotel. So my buddy went over there, had some extra cash, and came back with a PSP bundled with Final Fantasy Crisis Core. And holy crap, I've been such a fan of Final Fantasy 7 on PlayStation.
Ooh.
Now you're holding it in your hand. It was just such a cool moment. He's like, here, play it. So I played like maybe an hour of it on his brand new PSP. Thinking, holy cow, there's a cloud on this little 2.5 inch, 3 inch screen. This is so cool.
Oh,
So
that's fun.
yeah, I'm old.
I'm right in that same boat with you.
And then I did get Crisis Core this last year for PS5, or was it 2 years ago?
Uh, I think it was a year ago. It came out like late 2022, early 2023. It
Yeah,
was either
I haven't
December or
cracked it open to
January of
play yet.
the last set of December and January's.
Kind of hoping to play all the remakes together at one point. Is my hope.
That would be
So
nice. I got. I'm gonna guess either a quarter or a third of the way through before uh there was something early 2023 that came out that trumped me wanting to play Crisis Core. I don't remember what it was, but I am wanting to try to finish that before Rebirth comes out. I don't think it's gonna happen because I take way too long on any kind of RPG, but there's the hope that that'll happen.
and you only have a week, so
I have I have almost 2 weeks.
oh, 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
29th, right?
The
29th.
29th. This is the 16th. Remake, integrate. I think that we can kind of put that in because we're going to be comparing Rebirth to it all the time. Um, and then First Soldier and Ever Crisis, the mobile battle royale. Did you even try that?
I did not.
Yeah, I didn't bother either. And then Ever Crisis, I did try. It's just so full of gotchas that it killed it on the mobile. It's on Steam now, and I think that would be a better place to play it. But I'm just if a game has gotchas, I lose interest so quickly, just because it it takes character additions that you would have normally gotten through story into just you buy stuff and oh hey I finally got it now I get their story. It's just like why I I want them to actually make sense in the story, not oh hey here's Clive from 16 hopping into 7. What?
Yeah,
There's
not,
some
not even the same world. What in the
yeah,
world?
but then Rebirth has come on out, the demo at least. We're going through the Nibelheim story, the backstory as Cloud remembers it, um, and with what little bits that Tifa interjects through it, we're gonna try to stay away from spoilers for those who have not played the original game. Um, how did the Rebirth demo feel for you, especially in comparison or contrast to remake and integrate?
For me, it ran a lot smoother. Ran a lot smoother.
Yes,
Just visually without any hiccups or anything like that. So whatever they did between remake and rebirth, engine wise,
it might
has
just
been ironed out.
be the console.
Yeah, very true. Going from PS4 to PS5.
Yeah,
So I just ran so much smoother. No weird video clips. I was really impressed with it, and I mean, just some of the crazy visual things they did with like fire and lightning effects. Just looked amazing.
yeah,
Um, we talked about this last night with the podcast and how Xbox says they're going to improve graphic capabilities so much. I don't see how that can happen when it looks so good right now.
We're not going to have another uh generational leap of 2D to 3D because VR isn't that.
It's not, sadly.
No, it unless we somehow understand the fourth dimension, which no, I'm right there along with you for the feel. I have purposely not played remake or integrate again for a while because I have a problem with when I play games, previous games to a new game that's coming out too soon, too close together. That I don't like. Just if the gameplays are too similar, I lose interest in the new one a lot quicker
Sure, that makes sense.
because the style of the game is so similar, and I just spent however many hours playing it. So it's been a year or two since I've played, probably since Intergrade came out. Well, if that's the case, then it's like 3 or 4 years, because Intergrade came out not too long after the PS5 came out. Wow. Okay. But it did. The combat felt smoother, like it flowier, which
Well, the
was
only thing about the only thing I like about the combat, I like that you play as Sephiroth and Cloud. I don't think it's a spoiler,
mm-mm.
but I didn't like the flying creatures and trying to fight them as Cloud.
Yeah,
I mean, that was just kind of a weird thing to do with a guy with a sword. Um, I don't know. It felt better fighting with Sephiroth as the things were up in the air.
because he had a ranged attack with
Exactly.
sword beams. And I think I'm wondering if they're leaning into more for the main game, um, actually switching characters this time. Because
Yeah.
I played remake, I hardly ever switched characters. Like it, I think there were a couple times when I needed like specific magic or specific targeting, but I didn't. I did not feel that it was overly encouraged to switch.
Not for the demo, at least.
Well, no, in remake. Now
Oh, gotcha.
in
Sorry.
Rebirth, since Cloud didn't kind of seem to be like launching himself at flying enemies, I wouldn't be surprised if they encourage like, okay, you need to get to a range, so you might need to play as Barret a bit more, or I think Aerith has some ranged stuff, or just focus on your materia and your magic,
Yeah.
um, and getting that going. The um it was interesting trying to play through this story. um you could kind of break out of the path that it was leading you on. You really had to take your time, because if you were going the wrong way, the game slowed you to less than a walk. Like
Yeah,
it
that actually happened to me. I was walking up the mountain trail to find the power plant, and I'm at some river edge, and Tifa and Sephiroth are like, "Hey, this way." So they encourage, yet it also prevent you from exploring too much, which is I think is a good design.
Yeah, for the specific story times, and like this is a flashback, so of
Yeah,
course they don't want you to go. You'll be able to explore it later when you get there in the game. um did you play the piano much?
I didn't, just because of the way you had to control it with the joysticks. Just
Yeah,
with one hand and my foot is a little bit too much.
i
I thought it was cool. 'Cause, 'cool.
I think it is most of a piano, because, 'cause, 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 'c because it has, how many octaves was that? It had 7 or 8 octaves, I think.
Yeah, I think a piano is 88 keys, so eight octaves.
It was I was very impressed by the extent of what the piano was, and I know there's videos of people who have just played full on songs, like ridiculous songs, not just like hot cross buns or something, but like themes of games, and it would it. I think it's going to take some getting used to look at both circles at the same time to play the piano. Because when in most music games that I've played, at least, from Guitar Hero to Fiat Rhythm, it's all been on just like one bar.
Yeah,
And there's one thing to look at. Well, with this one, there are two different things with the lines coming down. It's like, oh crap, oh crap. But I think that's how they have to do it, because of the two joysticks and how many buttons you're possibly going to hit, and it the timing is somewhat forgiving. I they you had the option of playing Tifa's theme in the game as the music that you can find little music tracks as you go, and so then you can play them, and it starts off really slow, and then by the end it's going at a pretty decent pace, and then there's like easy, at least normal and difficult modes, if I remember right. I'll have to look over at my video again, but there are levels of how difficult it is as well, and then there's a ranking system up probably at least to S. Um, but just that the little gameplay elements that they have added to the game are kind of mind blowing just from all the trailers. Like, this game is so much more than what the original or this section of the game was.
sure. Yeah, I was thinking about how enjoyable I consider this a mini game. Just
Hmm.
how well the mini games have been throughout the history of Final Fantasy VII. Always been kind of a staple thing in the game,
Yeah,
and how they're revisiting those for the remake and rebirth, and how much dedication and time they've put into them. It's really cool.
and how they
You
kept
can tell
the
this is a labor of love.
the feel of. I think that's just another thing. Like, excuse me, they kept the feel of the original game in this game. the the weirdness, the way characters are reacting, um, as things are kind of going on. Um, like just the Cloud doing his up and down with his arm thing. Like, they kept that in where I can understand why they did it in the original PS1 game, because you're working with polygonal characters. You can't show emotion. You can't show little detailed things. But this game, people 20, 30 years ago would think that this was, you're playing like a real life game. But they kept the weirdness and just quirkiness. It's fantastic. It's so fun. I'm really hoping that they're gonna keep going with that, and like for the full game, just keep that labor of love that they've been showing, and go for the story.
I just want to if I just want to talk about the environments real fast.
Yeah.
just when we go back to remake, and there's we're in Midgar, and it's all cyberpunk and cyber steam or steampunk,
Yeah,
and so industrial and dark and gloomy. Then you're in Nibelheim. Is that how you say it?
yeah.
And Nibelheim, you're just like out in the Wild West with mountains and cactus and just neat foliage, and it's just it's just like a completely brand new different game. I mean, it is, but I think you know what I'm saying. You go
And,
from the confined area to the Wild West
and how many
in both
different
games.
environments there's going to be, like
Oh,
from
for
Midgar
certain.
to the I can't remember the name of the northern reach, or where big events may or may not happen.
Mhm.
Well, I wonder if that's going to be where they're going to end the game too. Uh, that would be horrible. That would be a horrible way to end it. Please let it go beyond that. Please let it go beyond that. Um, gosh, this game is almost 30 years old, and it's still like I don't want to spoil the game because there are. It is a new generation, two new generations at this point who are able to play this game and experience this for the first time. And are they going to do that? Are they going to do the big thing?
I kind of see these two games, three games with the original, and now these two games. It's almost like in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you have the
Yes.
blip and pre-blip timelines. So we're kind of in a post-blip timeline with Rebirth,
Well,
and
and not only that, but the end of Remake, they broke out of um the supposed set timeline. They broke out of the ghosts, the spirits, after that the battle with Sephiroth. So it could very much be brand new territory that we're going into, or it could be the same. And like we see the hints that some of the characters can see into those different timelines, can see into the blips. And is that going to change anything?
it's it's really fascinating what they've done with these intertwining storylines and old and new, and it's really impressive.
It's not a remake of the or remaster, no, like a remake of just the original game. It is a retelling almost
Yeah,
of the
kind of like
story.
you're going through memories of these characters from the past and into their present age. Almost, if that makes any sense what I just said.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's ooh. I I don't want to overhype myself, but I have that's not possible. I have high hopes for the game. 2 weeks can't come soon enough. From what we've played in the demo so far, I am confident myself that Square, with the last couple years of what they have put out with games, or what they have at least uh uh not produced, but um no, produced, not developed. A little bit of developing as well. That they haven't. A lot of the games haven't been of a higher tier that they are known for.
Sure.
Let's
I say the more niche titles like Scarlet Nexus or
Octopath.
Valkyrie Elysium, Octopath Traveler. Yeah, they've been more compact games for the more hardcore RPG fans, I think.
Yeah,
Where this is appealing more to a wider audience.
and then there's games like Balan Wonderworld and
Oh.
what was that uh dragon? I think it was a dragon game with like the female lead, or at least just the female lead game that came out last spring. Um, that just
I don't
it
I don't
was
recall
not
that one.
it was not received well by
Was
the
it Valkyrie Elysium? Was it that one?
no. I please video game engines. I just have what their release schedule.
It wasn't near, was it?
No. It was a brand new IP.
Okay.
Um, it was a very brand new um brand new IP, and this Wikipedia thing is not not helping me right now. For what I'm wanting to look at, so it doesn't matter. But uh, yeah, the Square Enix games are either really good or really bad,
Yeah.
and there is no in between. Or spoken.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah,
16 was
that's
I need to play more of 16 to just get the feel. Octopath Traveler 2 was great. Yet Rhythm was great. Dragon Quest Monsters has been really good. But then pretty much everything else, well, Star Ocean is just a remake. Pretty much everything else last year was just very not great. By if
yeah.
from
I just think they marketed Forspoken oddly.
yeah,
I don't think it was meant for people like you and I,
no.
our late 30s or early 40s, wanting that experience. It's more for honestly just teenage girls, you
I mean,
know.
and that's fine. Like that
Oh
if
yeah, for sure.
that needs to be a market for games as well. Um but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I have high hopes for it.
I do too. We were talking about this in our podcast a couple weeks ago. Just the goofiness of the character design and how they talk and carry themselves.
Yes.
That's, I mean, for me, that's such a breath of fresh air. You know, it doesn't take itself too seriously. Um, this may or may not be a spoiler, but you walk into the hotel, you meet the kung fu teacher, and,
Yes.
and Cloud's just kind of like, "What are you? What are you doing to me, man?" And he's like, "I've trained so many students. I'll add you to my list of pupils." And then you have the mayor and the sheriff, and it's fun. Doesn't take itself doesn't take itself too seriously. Um,
But in the
but the
serious
story
parts,
knows.
they let it be serious.
Oh yeah,
And towards the end of the demo,
when Sephiroth is finding out who he is and where he came from, and
holy crap.
then what happens with the battle in the city, and oof,
Oh
man,
yeah. And just that the iconic image of him turning around in the fire. I mean,
oh definitely,
we have seen that portrayed in at least 4 different mediums or games and films. But it still just has a tone and a feel to it that they lay into in this one. More so than any other one, I think. And they have him whispering in Cloud's ear. It's just like, oh. That's insane.
yeah, it's such a good looking demo, and I'm really excited for the final release of it. And yeah, I,
I
I I thought Tifa was also really cute, doing some fan service stuff for people.
Hmm.
Um, but this is gonna be a great game. I'm super excited for it.
Absolutely. The game comes out in less than 2 weeks on PlayStation 5. My educated guess is that if you do not own a PS5, but a PC, it will likely be similar time in 2025 that it will be available on PC as a guess. So if you have to wait and don't have extra $500 to spend, um, but if you can't play it, unless you want to go in blind whenever you play it, find a stream to watch. Um, Enjoy it. If you don't drop in like in my stream while I'm doing it, uh, otherwise I would probably suggest finding somebody like Maximilian, because he just has such a knowledge of Final Fantasy lore, and so to watch somebody who has the lore of everything so ingrained in them, I think that would be a very entertaining way to experience the game if you're not doing it yourself.
Yeah,
But I think that about wraps it up for our impressions of this first demo. Again, there will be more coming, a demo coming out in just a few days, and then the game is, like I said, out in less than 2 weeks. So there will be more Final Fantasy stuff coming here to Gaming Public Radio, and we'll probably be doing one of these videos after we've both played the main game, at least most of it, if not to completion. With that being said, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button, which is down there. I did it the right direction this time. Yes. um,
bonus
and
points.
and we could not do all this type of stuff without your support. So thank you very much. With that being said, have a fantastic day, and we will catch you all later.
Yeah.